John's Island, where you can buy eggs from your neighbor, fight a raccoon for your trash can, and pass a $3 million mansion 5 minutes later after driving by a goat farm. It's charming, it's chaotic, it's coastal country living at its finest. Or maybe the weirdest. So what's the deal, Ryan? Is John's Island a hidden gem, or are there some serious drawbacks hiding under all that Spanish moss? In this video, I'm breaking down the real pros and cons of living in John's Island, South Carolina. From the peaceful back roads and farm-to-table restaurants to the bugs, floods, and where the hell is the grocery store moments. Let's get into all of it right now. Section number 1, location and overview. So keep in mind, John's Island is the largest island in South Carolina, over 84 square miles, making it pretty vast. Technically, it's actually part of Charleston, South Carolina. It's Charleston County, but it also borders with James Island, West Ashley, and Kiowa. Now, if you're not familiar with Kiowa, Kiowa is phenomenal. No, it's a great area. It's a great luxury area to visit, a really nice area, and the beach down there is phenomenal. And if you're a big golf fan, well, PGA holds its fancy tournaments there all the time. So kudos to Kiowa. Now, the other benefit is that you're also bordered with James Island and West Ashley, making getting to beaches like Folly Beach very convenient. Getting to shopping in West Ashley, again, very convenient. Now, you're just 20 to 25 minutes to downtown Charleston, depending on traffic and where you live on the island. Some people live a little bit further down Main Road or River Road, and then other folks live kind of near Kiowa. So it just depends on what part of John's Island you live on. Now, I will say this, the island is a mix of farmland, marsh, and waterfront properties, and some newer subdivisions like Oakfield, Twin Lakes, Sea Island Preserve. So you have a lot of really nice neighborhoods right there in John's Island. Now, historically, the area is very rural. It has always been kind of the slower paced part of Charleston. Now, a lot of people who move there generally are looking for that slow paced lifestyle. They're not looking for the hustle and bustle. They want that relaxed vibe, that more low country lifestyle, and I get it. It's one of the fastest growing areas for that reason in Charleston. And everybody asks me, Ryan, is this gonna be the next hot spot? Like, is 29455 zip code gonna be the spot? And I don't know, it just depends. But if history repeats itself like it did in Mount Pleasant, then yeah, John's Island is gonna be pretty amazing in the next few years. And I would put my money on it that, hey, I'd buy a home there now and wait and see what the market does in the next few years. And then, hey, if I don't want to live there anymore, cash out. So John's Island has a wide range of housing, from mobile homes to multi-million-dollar estates. So the median home price in John's Island as of today, as of 2025, is around $625,000. Now, you can find entry-level newer homes, new construction homes between $400,000 and $550,000. But if you're someone that's looking for that luxury waterfront home feel, and you want an equestrian estate, you want some horses, then plan to pay somewhere between $1 million to $4 million. Now, I mentioned horses. Okay, let's back up here for a second. There are a good amount of horse stables and properties that do have horses, all that good stuff. A couple of years ago, there was one that sold on John's Island with 40-something plus acres for $2.5 million. Now, if you're looking for acreage, that was a really good deal. Plus, you also had the horses. Now, I don't know if the horses came with the deal. I'm sure that was a separate transaction. But again, it's something that if you are somebody who's in that niche of life, or you're looking for something like that, then John's Island is going to be a great opportunity to put it together or find it. So definitely something I would keep in mind. But yes, luxury waterfront homes, budget somewhere between $1 million to $4 million. Now, older homes with those larger lots do exist, and so it's not uncommon to find that here. It's just there's not as much of it. So when they do come on the market, they're rare, and we have to jump on them. Now let's talk about HOA for a minute. So everybody thinks that there's no HOA in John's Island, and that's just not true. There is an HOA, but it's only in a lot of the newer communities or established communities that have more of a neighborhood presence. You'll find that a lot of homes, a lot of areas in Johns Island actually sit on their own pieces of property. I recently was showing a home that was near Kiowa Island, still in Johns Island, that sat on 2.5 acres and no HOA. But it was perfect because it was kind of out in the middle. It was off a main road, but it was still out there a little bit where you had privacy and it wasn't like you were gonna have a gas station right across the street from your house. But you still had no HOA, so you could relatively do whatever it is you want on that property. So all you freedom lovers, rejoice, no HOA. Now, the lower property taxes compared to Charleston Peninsula, that's probably one of the big pros that I would say is great about Johns Island, is the fact that you do have that lower property tax. It's not much, we're not talking thousands of dollars, but a couple hundred here and there is the difference that you're gonna be seeing. Now, one of the other things that I will mention is insurance costs can vary, because there are parts of Johns Island that are zoned X, which means you're not gonna be required to carry flood insurance, but if you want to, it's relatively going to be less expensive than if you were carrying it or you were needed to carry it. So if you're someone that's in an AE 14, higher, whatever it may be, you're gonna be needing to carry flood insurance, and that's gonna relatively be a little bit more expensive for you. So it's something you need to budget in. Now, I really wanna talk about the pros of living in Johns Island. So first up on my pros list is the scenic beauty. So one of the things that I personally love about Johns Island is the massive oak trees. They hang over the roadways, so when you're driving down, you have this very rural, country-esque, almost southern plantation feel when you're driving on the roads, River Road especially. You get marsh views, which are absolutely beautiful. You get to see a ton of wildlife. I mean, the wildlife, the birds, I mean, I don't know bird names, but I see a ton of birds. So that's one of the other things. And then the sunsets. Oh my God, the sunsets in Johns Island are some of the most amazing sunsets, especially if you're near the water somewhere. There's nothing else like it. And two, you have one of the most beautiful, most iconic trees, the angel oak tree right there in Johns Island. It's a great area for tourists, but also if you want to bring family and friends and just kind of go see a 600-year-old oak tree that's still alive, it's pretty amazing. The other thing I will mention is the availability of land in Johns Island. This is another pro. You get space. You can get a lot of space. Large lots, room for gardens, boats, chickens, pools, outdoor cooking areas, like you name it, the list goes on. And if you're on a large piece of property, more than likely you don't have an HOA, which means you're not gonna have to run any of that stuff by anyone. You can just do it. And that brings me to the next real big pro of Johns Island is the relaxed vibe. Most people here aren't looking for someone to tell them to do. It's more hang back, relax. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who lives in Johns Island on a Friday is off at 2:30, heading home, pulling the tie down, getting ready, and going to the beach after they get done, because that's the vibe. It's a very coastal, relaxed feel. Or maybe they're gonna just sip some margaritas or whiskey on their back porch, because that's the blend of country lifestyle that they're looking for, that they bought for in Johns Island. Now, the other thing I will say is the food scene in Johns Island hasn't always been the best, but another pro here is it's a growing restaurant scene and food scene now. Besides the fact that the Lowcountry is just a foodie heaven, I mean, there are so many, but you have a lot of new development, lots of new construction growth, and a lot of new areas that are growing and being built for these new restaurants, these commercial properties to come in and feed the folks that live on Johns Island. Your proximity to beaches would be the other thing that I would say is a massive. If you're looking at Folly, Kiowa, you could even do Seabrook Island, which is another great area to go to. So again, all of that's about 15 to 20 minutes. And honestly, a reason why so many folks, and I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I'm telling you, the fewer rules being on Johns Island, many areas with no HOA and just less restrictions. I'll give you an example. I had a client, he had a car collection. He wanted to build a 3-bay pole barn. We were looking in a neighborhood in Johns Island that did have an HOA, and that was something that he wasn't going to be able to do right out of the gate. And it was unfortunate because his wife really wanted to move into that neighborhood, but he ended up finding something not in an HOA, a was a private piece of property that they were kind of building a home that they really liked, but it had the space that he could build his pole barn. And so with a little bit of negotiation, we got the builder to make some changes on some of the selections, which made his wife very happy. And they ended up closing on that property. And 2 months later, boom, that pole barn was going up. So again, when we talk about the fewer rules, less HOA, those are the things I'm talking about. And also, he now could buy the boat that he wanted to get and park it right there on his property. So definitely something to consider, and it's easier on the budget. The other big pro to Johns Island is the fact that it's easier on most people's budget. When you start considering things like the cost compared to Mount Pleasant, Daniel Island, downtown Charleston, you start to see that, hey, I'm getting a great value in Johns Island and not having to go crazy with my budget. And one of the final pros that I'll mention is just the strong community feel. When you live in Johns Island, the locals, the farmers, the artists, it's a very diverse group of people who all kind of come together and support the community and support the local area and each other. And that's probably one of the big things that I'd say would draw me to Johns Island, is just that strong community feel, that vibe. It's different, and it's not easy to explain to people who have never been a part of a very connected community of folks who live there, work there, artists, all that stuff. So definitely something that I would say would pull me into Johns Island is just that alone, is just the Southern hospitality. All right, now we're gonna move on and talk about those cons of living in Johns Island, because there are a few of them. And right out of the gate, let's talk about the one that everyone hates: traffic. Welcome to Maybank Highway, or Mayhem Highway at rush hour, as I like to call it. You know that commercial with the guy who's called Mayhem? Yeah, well, that's Maybank Highway. And let me tell you, if you live on Johns Island and you're going to try to get in or out at any point in time during the day where, well, people are getting to work, going to work, coming home from work, this is going to be a bitch. And let me tell you, there is really no fixing it. Maybank Highway is just, one road in, one road out, so it's 2 lanes. And that's the same thing with Main Road. When you come off the area off of Savannah Highway, it's the same problem. And so, and again, a lot of that is due to just kind of the infrastructure, the road systems. Johns Island was the rural countryside of Charleston, and now got more people living there, more houses being built, more people traveling. So yeah, the traffic is a bitch. And at the end of the day, if you don't need to leave the island, then it's not the end of the world. But if you're someone that's gonna be commuting on and off, make sure you understand what that commute looks like. Now, let me talk about the other con that I would say probably frustrates a lot of people. And it was kind of a deter for me when we initially moved here, but now I'm kind of like, maybe we should reconsider. But is the limited services. So there is very few grocery store options. There's actually one currently. I've been told there's another one coming. Medical facilities, there's not a whole lot of medical facilities right there on Johns Island. And then let's just talk about the retail. There's not a whole lot of retail on the island. Now, a lot of that is starting to change. There are new businesses, new commercial areas that are going into the island, but it's just not, I don't see it keeping up with how fast things are growing on a home side of things. These neighborhoods are going up, people are moving in. They need another grocery store. They need a Harris Teeter. They need a Publix. They just don't have it right now. Food Lion is your only option. But again, I've been told that's changing in the next 6 to 12 months, and they should have something else. So we'll wait and see. But for now, that's that's a big con on the list. Now, let's talk about the other con that most people write me and are like, Ryan, is this real? Well, we do have bugs and we have wildlife. And by wildlife, I mean gators. Yes, we do. Snakes and gators and mosquitoes. Mosquitoes, snakes, gators, spiders, all that shit you people hate. Yes, they're real. They're not going anywhere. We're in their territory. It's just, yeah, you gotta kind of deal with it. Here's what I tell everybody about gators. Stay away from them. They're not gonna bother you. You won't bother them. Everybody lives peacefully. That's kind of how it is here. Now, if you're stupid and you're like, hey, I'm gonna go feed a gator today. I'm gonna take some raw chicken and throw it at a gator. the gator's gonna get familiar and comfortable with you, and then they're gonna come for your leg because they're gonna want more food, and they're gonna eat your leg, and then they're gonna eat you, and then you're gonna be dead, and your family is gonna be writing an awful, awful eulogy in the paper. We're all gonna have to read about it and feel sorry for you for 5 minutes while we sit in traffic the rest of the day. So don't mess with the gators is what I'm saying. And then the snakes. If you're gonna go walking or hiking, make sure you wear boots. Snakes are a real thing here. And then the mosquitoes, yeah, they're gonna bite you. So I always tell everybody, get a thermocell, invest in one of those. They're phenomenal. You put them outside, they help keep the bugs away. Or get yourself a really good pest company. Now, the other thing, and again, there's just so many cons, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. The other thing that a lot of people are concerned about is flooding concerns, and I get that. Absolutely. There are certain low-lying areas that do flood easily in Johns Island, but we can have those conversations. If you're someone that's really worried about it and you're like, we only want to be in an X zone, then we'll look up those different designations to find you the right area. The growth pains of the infrastructure, we talked about the roads, the traffic, the schools, all of that stuff needs to catch up. It hasn't caught up. It's getting there. You know, that's why commuting can definitely be tough for a lot of you who have to work downtown Charleston. Maybe you have to work in Somerville. I know somebody who lives in Johns Island and works in Somerville. Let me tell you, his commute is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half one way. And that sucks. So again, just keep that in mind. The infrastructure hasn't truly caught up. Now, I mentioned schools briefly, and there's some inconsistency in ratings and quality. That was one of the things that really was like the deciding factor for my wife and I, as to like, hey, we're not moving to Johns Island because schools are just, the ratings were not good. I don't even think we got a call back when we were like, hey, we want to come and tour the school. I don't even think they called us back. I don't even think they wrote our name down. So for those of you who are getting your kids into those schools, I don't know how you're doing it, but good for you. You know, they do have private schools, Montessori's, like they have other options. There's a very large homeschool community in Johns Island. So if that's something you're interested in, that's another option. It's just something to be aware of. And then again, the other con that I'll say, mix of zoning. So you can have a mansion parked right next to a gun range, parked next to a graveyard. I mean, there is really no like, hey, we're gonna do commercial over here, residential over here, and then, you know, playgrounds and cemeteries over here. No, there's none of that. It's just like whatever you want to do. Okay, you want to build there? Cool, go ahead. So you can have a mansion parked right next to a trailer park. And some people love it, some people don't. But that's the reality of Johns Island. You just have to know that going in, that hey, the zoning is a little wonky. All right, now let's talk about internet access. So because the area is mostly rural, they have spotty broadband. Now, some local companies have come in there and run high-speed internet. You have Spectrum, Home Telecom, but I have actually found, especially in those areas where you may not be in an HOA area, Elon Musk's Tesla company, Starlink, not Tesla, well, it's Tesla, but you know, all the same thing. It's all under the same brand. That company works amazing. Starlink offers super high-speed internet out in the middle of nowhere. So again, I know it's a con having kind of spotty internet access, and if you're not someone looking to sign up for Starlink, then that's probably one of the cons I would say about Johns Island, is just the high-speed internet options. So now on Johns Island, you are zoned for Charleston County School District. So for your elementary, that's gonna be Angel Oak Elementary. And then for your middle is Hout Gap Middle. And then you have St. John's High School. Some mixed reviews there. Again, I tell everybody, you gotta do your due diligence. What I'm telling you based off this information is all based off of stuff like betterschool.com, school grade. There's a lot of websites that you can do some homework and some resource. That's what my wife and I did. And that's how we made our decisions of like, hey, where do we want to go and visit and tour? So definitely be something to consider. Now, as I mentioned, they do have charter and magnet options. They have the Charleston Charter School for math and science. They also have Orange Grove, which is a school of arts. This is a lottery-based school, and it's a downtown commute, so it's something to look into, but it's a great school. And then you have private school options nearby. You have Charleston Collegiate School on the island. That's pre-K through 12th, completely private. And then you have Porter God. That's 30 to 40 minute drive, and it's a prestigious prep school. So if you're someone that's like, hey, we only want the best of the best, then check out that one. All right, moving on, section 6, food scene and nightlife. So one of the big pros to Johns Island, I would say, would be some of the restaurants they have there. Fantastic award-winning options. You have Wild Olive, their award-winning Italian restaurant. You have the Tattooed Moose right there in Johns Island. That place is great for burgers, beer. It's just a local hangout. It's really cool. And then you have Low Tide Brewing, same thing. Island Brewery with food trucks and live music. Very, very cool spot. You also have the Royal Turn. So this is more seafood and steakhouse, just more chill vibes, more elevated vibes. You'll see a really good group of people in there. And then Angel Oak Restaurant, which is gonna be your Southern comfort food. Oh yeah, it's all the good stuff. And then Estuary Beans and Barley. That place has craft beer and coffee, which is an adult paradise if you ask some people. And then the Fat Hen, which is another great restaurant. That's more of your French and Southern fusion. Really cool mix of different style foods there. I recommend checking that out. And then Blackbird Market. It's more of a gourmet market and deli. Very nice, very niche. And then if you think about some of the nearby dining, you have other options as well. You're only an easy drive to Folly Beach or downtown Charleston for more expanded options. So if you're somebody that's like, hey, we want to go to Halls tonight, you know, we want to go to Husk, like, all of that's downtown. You're 15 to 20 minutes to it, no biggie. And then to get home, again, you're 15, 20 minutes to get home to Johns Island. So win-win there. All right, moving on, section 7. Let's talk about amenities, shopping, and gyms. All right, so I would say another big pro is the growing list of grocery options. As I mentioned before, currently they have Food Lion, from what I understand, Harris Teeter, and coming soon, a Publix will be coming to Johns Island. You have a few boutique fitness spots. You have a yoga place, goat yoga, martial arts, you name it, jujitsu. It's all there on Johns Island. Now, the other thing you won't find on Johns Island are big box stores. And so for that, you're gonna have to go to places like West Ashley, James Island, for Target, Walmart, things like that. So if you're somebody that's like, well, I've gotta have a Target 5 minutes away, Johns Island just isn't gonna be the fit for you. Now, if you're somebody that's like, well, Ryan, we don't really like new developments, well, then you may not like where Johns Island is developing because they're starting to do new developments. Like Bees Ferry Crossing is bringing in more retail spots. You've got a lot of farmers markets that are popping up, these roadside produce and commercial spaces in Johns Island. So a lot of that is starting to come up and grow. And again, it's not here right now. Some of it is, so that's a con, but it's coming. So that's the pro. So the pros can also be the cons. And so the cons can also be the pros.
I'm just a little confused here.
It just depends on which way you're looking at it. I look at it as, hey, if I'm gonna be here for 5 to 10 years and I'm investing in this area, it's only gonna benefit me the more stuff they add as it comes down the road. All right, now we can't talk about Johns Island without talking about the recreation and outdoor lifestyle, because honestly, that's why a lot of people move here. So Johns Island's great because you have various boat ramps, boat launches, fishing spots. I mean, you have public boat launches that won't cost you a dime. You have other boat launches that you can pay to use. You can launch your boat from there. I mean, there are a ton of different spots. They also have kayak launches all over the island. Your outdoor lifestyle is, you see yourself being by the water, walking the trails. You also have the Charleston Aqua Park. I mean, they have a lot of really great things in and around Johns Island that I think for a lot of people, especially if you live a very outdoor lifestyle, you like walking, hiking, biking, this is going to be a spot that you're going to be able to do all of it. Not to mention, you have the Johns Island County Park here. Is a 738 acre park with trails, a climbing wall, playgrounds, splash pad. I mean, it's endless, and you really want to check that area out. And two, that's also where they do their holiday festival light show. So in Christmas time, if you go here to the Johns Island County Park, as long as you have your gold pass, you'll be able to get in for free. It'll cost you about $25 if you don't. You go in and you do a whole driving light show, and then at the end you park and you can go see Santa, you can make s'mores, they have fire pits, you can do rock climbing wall. I mean, it is really awesome. Johns Island County Park does it right. And then, not to mention, Johns Island also has a various amount of different areas where you can go horseback riding, There's a very large equestrian community. So if you're someone your kids are into equestrian horseback riding, maybe you're big into it, it's definitely here in the area. So there's no shortage of it. Now, the other thing I'll talk about are community events. So we have oyster roasts here, art shows, live music. It never seems to end. And then on top of all of that, you also have and this is a big pro, you have the Charleston Aqua Park. It's basically a giant inflatable water park just for kids. It's incredible. My kids love it. I have friends who have taken their kids love it. My one friend said they went for 4 hours. By the end of it, their kids were sound asleep in the car all the way home. And he goes, that never happens. So definitely check out the Charleston Aqua Park in Johns Island. All right, now let's move on and talk about the commute and proximity of Johns Island to everything else, because let's be honest, if you're gonna move there, you wanna know how long it's gonna take you to get places. All right, so if you're driving from Johns Island to downtown, plan a 20 to 30 minute drive with traffic. And again, it's traffic depending. It could be, you might have a car broken down across both lanes, and then you're talking 45, 50 minutes. If you're driving from Johns Island to Folly Beach or even Kiowa, plan to be about 15 to 20 minutes. And then 25 to 30 minutes to Charleston Airport. So if you're someone that's gonna have to frequent the airport, plan to be about 25 to 30 minutes to the Charleston Airport. Now, just to be aware, some of the primary roads that you wanna get familiar with and know that they can bottleneck is Maybank Highway, River Road, and then Main Road. Those are gonna be the roads that you're gonna use most often in and around Johns Island. Now, one of the big pros, and again, this could be a con because it's not here yet, our new roads and expansions are underway. So one of the things I will say about South Carolina is they don't wait a whole lot of time to start building roads. They actually get after it right away. And that's one thing I will say that they are working on. I've even been told that they're going to finish the 526 and have that land right in Johns Island, which would be a game changer for a lot of people who commute or need to get to West Ashley. Well, Ryan, all this information is great, but who lives in Johns Island? Like, who lives there? Like, is it locals? Is it troll people? Who's living there? Fully transparent, it's a mix of locals, natives. You have a lot of Charleston transplants who live there, a lot of remote workers, and people who homeschool. You do have a good amount of retirees, and everybody from artists, farmers, real estate investors love Johns Island. I have two real estate investors. Both of them have investment properties in the area, and they both live in Johns Island. They're like, we just love Johns Island. And I get it. It's beautiful. Not to mention, you have a good amount of families, maybe more homeschooling. You do have a lot of families who prefer more outdoor lifestyle, more bigger lots because they want their kids to have space to run and play. Totally get that. And then there's also people here who just want land and freedom, but still want that Charleston access. See, that's the nice balance about Johns Island. You're just far enough out of the city where you can have land, you can feel a little country, it can feel a little rural, but you're still a 20 to 25, 30-minute drive to downtown Charleston, which is amazing. And there's not really a gated community vibe here. It's more raw and real. And so for some people, that's a big con because they're like, hey, we want that more gated community vibe. And there is a couple of gated communities on Johns Island, but not the whole island. The whole island's not gated. So just something to be aware of. And it's great for nature lovers. Like, I'm a huge outdoors person. I love going and seeing the birds. I love seeing the wildlife, all of that. Boating, you name it. Creatives, oh God, if you're a creative, let's say you're a painter, photographer, this place is just gonna eat you alive. The people here are incredible, very welcoming, very loving people here in Johns Island. It's one of the things, that's why I like going to the restaurants, is like, every time I go to the restaurant, I feel like I'm being taken care of in a 5-star restaurant. It's amazing. So, and everybody's so friendly. That's the other part of it. It's also a great place if you're somebody who agrees with everybody else and you're like, hey, we hate HOAs, okay? Screw HOAs. So, if that's you, Johns Island is the place. All right, if you want to know more about Johns Island, do me a favor and click this video right here to check out some neighborhoods right here in Johns Island, South Carolina.